Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is $3 Theater, and over the course of this last weekend, Venom destroyed box office records. It absolutely destroyed box office records for the month of October, and arguably even 2018 in some respects. The $80 million opening weekend. It was projected, fucking projected, to earn 55 to 80 million. That's a $25 million gap, and it hit the top. It hit the top with a B minus cinema score from audiences, as well as good audience ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, while the critics tore it to shit. And that is to be expected. To be honest with you, looking at the first trailer for Venom back in January, I was in no way looking forward to this movie. I was in no way looking forward to what was going to happen. It just looked bad, even though it had good things attached to it. Tom Hardy, Ruben Fleischer. Yeah, I like Ruben Fleischer as a director. Riz Ahmed, who I like. And Michelle Williams, who I also like. There was some good talent attached to this. Jenny Slate still. The weirdest thing about Venom to me is Jenny Slate, right? By the way, this is kind of like a post discussion, so there's gonna be spoilers and everything else. Then they released that first trailer, that first teaser, and everyone was like, "Where the fuck is Venom? What's going on?" And that was a big criticism. And then they released the second trailer, the story trailer, and that was not very good in and of itself. I didn't think that was very good at all. I thought that was kind of, it didn't really work for me. Wasn't super into what I was thinking it was going to be. But then, you start looking at more about it. You start looking at more about it, and the critics start seeing it, and you go, okay, maybe this is going to be bad. Maybe this isn't going to be very good. But I still felt I owed it to myself to go see it. I still felt I owed it to myself to go to the theaters. Kind of the same way I looked at, like, let's say Solo, right? A lot of people were like, Solo's going to be terrible, right? And Solo was good. Wasn't great, had its own problems, but it was good. It was fun. Venom's the same way. It's not great. It has its own problems. The first half of the movie is really where people aren't too happy, but once he becomes Venom and once that whole thing kicks off, then the relationship can begin to form, and then the audience can also find themselves, well, kind of falling in love with that particular duo, because that's when it really shines. I mean, this movie not only did it come across as being a film that a lot of people were expecting to fail, it also did well internationally, right? It did 80 million here. Everyone's talking about it here. It did 80 million up against A Star Is Born, earning 43. It's like, oh my God, Venom crushed Lady Gaga. Well, yeah, we all knew it was gonna crush A Star Is Born, right? I mean, even though Lady Gaga fans did in fact try to go out there and sabotage the movie, apparently, by trying to crash the reviews that were coming out, or I should say the social media reactions from critics, that tried to be a thing. We know we know that they tried to do that, again, allegedly, and it didn't work. So 80 million, and I think it's done 205 million worldwide on a $100 to $115 million budget, at least according to Wikipedia. That's good. That is actually surprisingly good. I'm surprised that here it is at 2:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Monday the 8th, days after it came out, days after it was number one, days after it reached the projections, the top of the projections. I am honestly surprised that Sony has not issued a statement saying that Venom 2 has been greenlit. I'm honestly surprised that's not the case. But at this point, I would argue it's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. But what does this mean? What does it mean? Well, okay, a lot of people have been asking the question, is this related to Marvel in any way, shape, or form? The answer to that is no. We know that Sony had been working on a Venom film for a while. Interestingly enough, Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, the guys behind Deadpool, had been working on a script underneath, I think, director David S. Goyer around 2009. They were working on it. And when that happened, Sony, it kind of fell through, but it really does make you question the movie Life. Because that was the one that came out last year that many people looked at as being, is this a prequel to Venom? Is Life a prequel to Venom? And that was also written by Paul Wernick and Rhett Reese, which really makes me beg the question, how much of life was influenced from their original draft for Venom. And that's something I should probably reach out to Rhett Reese and ask him myself, because I do tweet at him every once in a while on Twitter, just to ask questions, because I think he's a pretty stand-up dude. So are they going to do Venom 2? Yeah. Is it connected to Marvel? No, not at all. Not yet. Not yet. That's the key word here. Yet. Right? And because it did 80 million in October, the likelihood of Amy Pascal and Kevin Feige having conversations about bringing Venom into the MCU or combining that new side universe to run parallel to the MCU, similar to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, and the Netflix series, also Runaways and Cloak and Dagger. Is it going to be like a sub cinematic universe, right? Is it going to be like Marvel Cinematic Universe, then Sony Cinematic Universe? Now, Marvel Cinematic Universe, by the way, is now expanding. It's expanding with X-Men and all that shit. Whatever they plan on doing with that, we still have no freaking idea what they plan on doing, but we know they're going to work on it, right? So you've got all these things kind of going to Marvel right now. And the fact that Amy Pascal and Avi Arad actually churned out a decent enough movie, which bothers me to no end because they're both talentless in their own right and shouldn't be involved in this project, but they cobbled together something that audiences were like, yeah, that wasn't bad. That wasn't bad. What does this mean? Well, it basically means that Sony has got Marvel over the barrel. At this point, Sony has got Marvel over the barrel 100%. All they have to do now, all they have to do is, all Pascal has to do is go to Feige and say, listen, Spider-Man Far From Home wrapped up filming, comes out next summer. That is the end of our contract with you and Spider-Man. We agreed to the movies, right? Spider-Man Far From Home, Spider-Man Homecoming, Avengers, and Civil War. That's the end of our contract. So at this point, how do we renew? And Feige understands 100% that Spider-Man is paramount to the success of the cinematic universe. I don't care what anyone says about Captain Marvel being the future. They may try to push Captain Marvel as the future. They may want to make her the future. Everyone's going to be looking to Spider-Man, because when that was announced back in 2016, or when that first teaser trailer dropped for Civil War, and, Tony Stark goes, "Underoos," and then drops Spider-Man, dude, everyone hit sexual maturity who was a nerd. They were just fully raging at that point. And people want Spider-Man. After Spider-Man PS4 came out and blew everyone away. By the way, that is probably the best Marvel movie you ever played. It is amazing. You should go check it out. People want Spider-Man. Spider-Man is going to become the glue for the MCU, at least on the Sony side of things, and maybe even with the Fox side of things. Who knows? But this is where things are going to get interesting, because now we're going to start seeing, I believe, inter-studio agreements. And it's going to be very interesting in the way that Disney's going to pull it off if they allow Feige to do it. And I don't think they're going to care so much as long as the money comes in. But how would Feige pull it off? Well, Marvel Studios is distributed underneath underneath Walt Disney Pictures. I wouldn't be surprised, just in general, I wouldn't be surprised if they make the lateral move to, instead of releasing Marvel Pictures underneath Walt Disney, they release it under 20th Century Fox. This would allow them to keep everything under one brand. This would actually allow them to keep everything under one roof and not have to have the messy, dividing up of properties and stuff. But they could also sit there, and I've talked about this before, use Walt Disney for the main cinematic universe, the PG-13 movies, and then have the more riskier content, like your Deadpools, your X-Force and whatnot, going over to the Fox brand. Now, the Fox brand could then easily tie into the Sony side of things. So having a deal with them. But at that point, it would become like a triangle. It'd become like this weird triangle agreement that's not even going to be a full, continuous. It's going to be like Sony going this way, Marvel going this way. That's what it's generally going to be, because that not all characters from Marvel are going to make it over to Spider-Man's world. We know that Robert Downey Jr. was granted permission, or I should say Tony Stark was granted permission, but we don't know if those other characters are going to appear in Avengers 4. We don't know what's going to happen with the Sony cinematic universe. Venom is a success. I guess it does also, it does make you question whether or not it's going to be able to hold on for its second weekend. I think that it might. It's going to probably drop a significant amount, maybe 60%. So you're looking at around maybe you're looking at maybe about a $30 million opening weekend. I don't know what opens up this weekend, but next weekend is Halloween. Halloween's going to do some seriously good numbers. So I would assume that Venom's going to hold its own, both domestically and internationally, just because there's not much else that people are going to be able to see. Never mind the fact that those who are apprehensive about seeing Venom in the first place are going to probably get a good, solid word of mouth from those who went to go see it out of pure morbid curiosity and those who are diehard fans. And since we're also getting close to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I wouldn't be surprised if more fans are just who want to get a Spider-Man fix in some way or another then end up going and seeing Venom. So the way I look at it, and I admit this ramble is definitely all over the place, but the way I look at it is Disney has no choice at this point but to work with Sony to work on this side universe, right? We know that a PG-13 Venom is now a successful movie, even though the number one request would be rated R. Whatever comes out of the unrated home video when that drops in a couple months is going to be interesting enough to see how that plays out. And I feel that we're going to see a very new world emerge out of this as Disney closes in on the deal for Fox, as Feige then, as we know now, he's given kind of he's given the freedom to start developing these projects. We don't know what's going to happen with Dark Phoenix or New Mutants and how those are going to play out in regards to connecting to this universe. And we don't know how Spider-Man's going to connect to this universe, but we know that Amy Pascal wants to connect her cinematic universe to Marvel. She has said as much. Kevin Feige has tried to downplay those rumors, but she has been very open about how she feels about that. She knows she controls Spider-Man. That was how she negotiated her exit as the former head of Sony after the email hack came out in 2014. That was her meal ticket, and it still is a very, very, very profitable meal ticket, one that she does not want to give up. And so she continues to work with Marvel, and she now has leverage over that. If Venom would have tanked, if Venom would have completely tanked, it would absolutely positively be in Feige's favor to pressure Bob Iger into purchasing out all of Marvel's assets from Sony, because Sony would eventually at one point need the money. They have very few hits these days. Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle was one that everyone was like, what? Other than that, they did not do well in 2016, and up until the end of 2017, they didn't do well either, with the exception of Spider-Man Homecoming. Even Emoji Movie at $50 million didn't do very much. Baby Driver at a $30 million budget did well, but still, we know that The Dark Tower crashed and burned, and a lot of other properties crashed and burned as well. So we know also about the $1 billion write-down from Sony in terms of their film division from 2016, and that would also be part of the fault of Ghostbusters 2016. So there's a lot there that Sony has to lose in regards to finances. But with Venom being successful, that gives them the leverage to broker a new deal. And that new deal will, if Feige is smart, and I know he's a smart guy, he will work with Pascal and give her what she wants and get access to those characters, because then underneath his control, everyone will make a lot more money. Everyone will make a lot more money. Pascal and Avi Arad, they got lucky with this. They got lucky. And I think they know that. And I think they know that a lot of it hinges on the second week numbers. And if they get that solid win, if they become number one again, that is again this more leverage to use with Kevin Feige for the future of Spider-Man. Because the future of Spider-Man with the MCU will now include every other character that Sony owns, 100%. And you know what? I'm down for it. I'm down. I was pleasantly surprised with Venom. It's been on my mind a lot this weekend. I would like to actually watch it again. Especially the last half of the movie. I even found, someone had leaked a couple of the scenes, and I watched them again. And they're good. It's a fun film. It's better than it has any right to be. And again, it's what is going to be used as leverage for the for Spider-Man. So those are just my thoughts on this one. I just wanted to put this out there. What do you guys think about it? Let me know down in the comments below. If you made it this far, type Pascal into the chat so I know you made it and she knows we're talking about her. And I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day. If you haven't already, please subscribe. That'd be great. Like the video too. And have a good one, guys, and peace out.